Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's True You podcast. This is a place where we have open discussions to understand who we are in order that we can live our lives to the fullest. Every week, I have amazing guests, women, mainly women, sometimes men, who are living life under their rules and absolutely loving the process. And every so often, I want to say, like this week, every so often, somebody enters your life who is just full of so much love and positivity, and is just such a beautiful soul. And for me, that happened for me. I don't know. I'm trying to work out how many years ago it was, but we'll talk about that. But I think it was probably maybe like 15 years ago this woman has been in my life. But she is such an amazing human being, and she has got such a story to share with you. So we want to bring the energy, and we want to share with you both our experiences, but I want to share with you definitely this person's experience. So welcome to the show, Sian Gunney.
Oh, Paula, that's got to be up there with my favorite ever intro. How I'm not in tears right now and have tissues, I don't know, but yeah.
Sian, I love you.
I love you too. Like, the feeling is so mutual, and you just radiate light and love, and it's just been nothing but a true honor to have known you all these years and to follow your journey and watch you grow and watch you flourish, and your amazing family. And I always laugh and remember when you took me into the most amazing church, like a gospel church.
Yes.
And we were clapping and singing, you know. Yeah. I made inappropriate jokes that maybe I'd set on fire if I walked into this, and you were like, "Oh, Sian, you're so funny." And I still tell this story to people now about how much you embraced me, you know, and just the connection that we've got. I've always felt is really, really special.
Yeah.
And I love those moments. I nearly messaged you the other day because I find myself in often very unusual situations, and I went to get my nails done in Toronto. I'll just tell you, I won't go off on a tangent, I promise.
go for it, Sian.
Yeah, here we go, and we're chatting, and this is nothing on my notes. Yeah, so I went to get my nails done with my new best friend in Toronto. I don't think she knows
You're making new best friends.
No, don't tell Kat, she'll kill me. But yeah, and we went to get my nails done, and she brought a puppy, and she was fabulous, and she invited me to go to see Beyonce with her in July. And then I was like, oh my God, did we just become best friends? And she's like, I think we did. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I love this city. And with that, she had to rush off to do a gym class because she had a date in the evening. And this gentleman walks in who looks a little Jesus-like. And as you know, I always say, I'm not religious. I'm very spiritual, you know, the universe.
Yeah.
Talk to me about crystals, talk to me about the law of attraction. Like, let's talk about that. But I often gravitate to and often magnetize a lot of like very religious people. Yeah. You know, Dennis Price, OBE, and many of my friends over the years who I absolutely adore, yourself included. And this guy comes in, and we're chatting, and he's a preacher.
Yes.
And I felt like I didn't get my nails done. I went to church. I went to church. And there was one line, and this was my whole point for this little tangent. There was one line that he said, and it was one of those like mic drop moments. And although I talk universe, you talk God, he said, there's no high like the most high. He was like, he'd been in recovery. He'd been an addict. He'd found God, he transformed his life, and he was like, there's no high like the most high. Yeah. And I was like, what a line.
I know.
Obviously, I write in my quote notes on my mobile phone, I've got to tell my friends. And it was just one of those amazing moments, you know. He put his hands on my shoulder, he did a little prayer, and I'm like, I think as a pastime, as I get older, I would like to pick up every religious book and study every religion. Like, I'm fascinated Obviously Buddhism I'm drawn to more than anything, but Muslim, to read the Quran, to understand every single religion. I do find it fascinating. I really, really do. And I pride myself on being like radically open to other people's opinions. So
Sian, it is definitely a feeling, it is definitely that emotion and that faith that you feel, that it's like when you're around somebody like that who you met and, when he put his hand on you and prayed for you or whatever, I'm sure you felt that. You felt something. And this is something that I live by every day. My faith it's very important to me because I feel it. I feel it every day. And if you're still enough, you feel it more. And it's all about being still sometimes in life to be able to feel that calm and that presence and to see that direction of where we're going to go. But Sian, I need to just share with everybody. Well, you need to share with everybody. What is it that you do?
What is
it that you do?
Okay, so I'm a brand strategist and brand consultant. I create action plans with original thinking, high-level introductions to guide you to success. So I'm a success strategist, in short. I launch and scale brands. I work with clients to disrupt, to lead change, not be led, supporting them to self-disrupt and refocus to stay ahead. So I find a lot of the time we've got our higher selves and our lower selves, and I find a lot of the time that people's actions do not align with their goals. And I like to help people to get out of their own way because I see people self-sabotage and I know the symptoms, the signs. I also know how I shake that up, how I bring in play, how I allow people to enjoy the journey. Because a lot of people struggle with success and they carry the beliefs that are not theirs to carry, and fear and limits are illusions that we create, and it is only from the horizon that we keep that we are able to move to our limits or beyond them. And I often felt very much, being from Cardiff and living in Cardiff and living in the UK for most of my life, that the soil I was planted in didn't allow me to flourish. And I have always felt that I didn't fit in from a very, very young age. And I love my family. I love my friends. I love the capital city of Wales. I was an ambassador for Cardiff for a long, long time. But I always felt I didn't really fit in, and I didn't really feel like I belonged. And I feel that now I've moved to a very, very diverse city where I'm in rooms and the predominant skin colour is not beige. It's just such a liberating thing.
The melting pots of inspiration, isn't it?
I feel more at home here than I ever have. And I'm kind of certain as well that this won't be the city that I will live in all my life. But I absolutely am treasuring every connection and every second that I've got here. I'm really, really making the most of it because it's such a liberating and wonderful experience to be around so many diverse individuals.
It's about the experiences that we are adding into our lives, isn't it? It's like those step-by-step moments that you are just creating another piece of you, another layer, another thing that's making you more of the person that you're supposed to be. And I love that what you said in terms of, there was just something that that you didn't quite fit in. You're different, know. And I think that's and that's another thing in terms of, if people give themselves that chance to step back and to sit with that feeling, you just know that there's more than this. there's more than this. I don't, I'm a bit uneasy. And other people will look at you and they might say, oh, well, you're just being ungrateful, everything's fine, you got the most amazing life, what's the matter with you? But they're not in your shoes, so they don't understand it. And I remember saying, when I was really, really young, and I always say to people, well, my mum used to say it actually, you careful what you say, because you're actually speaking it into existence. And people say that anyway. But I remember saying that when I was really young, and I don't know, maybe I was early teens, something like that.
Always said words are spells. That's why it's called spelling.
Absolutely. And obviously with my faith, I believe that so much, in the fact that I said, I didn't want to just grow up, get married and disappear into the woodwork. And I remember saying that.
Preach. I love it.
It just didn't want to be just normal. I knew what I meant when I said it. Even at that age, and even though I was so quiet and so unassuming, and I wouldn't say boo to a goose, I was just scared of shadow.
I can't imagine that, young lady.
I really was. Honestly. But I knew at that time that I just didn't want that ordinary existence. I needed to make waves. I needed something different. I needed more out of life.
Isn't that interesting? Like, two things I can really kind of get my head around there. Like, I remember shaking my dad's hand and saying, I never want to get married and I never want kids and I want to be free. I just want to be free. Like, freedom was just so important to me from a very, very young age. And I also, like, when you just said I didn't want the ordinary existence, and you just spoke to my soul, because like anything mediocre or ordinary to me just defines a real lack of courage and a lack of imagination. And I've always said the opposite of courage is not cowardice, it's conformity. Like, why we all get in line to fit in? Like, why, when there's no uniform, do we all try and dress the same and follow fashion? Like, why are we afraid to stand out and be seen? Like, and when you read, like, the greatest wishes of the dying, that amazing book, and the biggest regret of all was not living the life that they wanted for themselves, because they were too busy putting everyone else at the front of the queue. Why would you do that? Like, to be love, to live life to the fullest, it's got to be truthful. It's got to be your truth. You can't living your life for anyone else is not living. You've got to, like Dilys, who was a very religious woman, and just dedicated her life to helping those less able than her. And she always said, like, we are taught, we are conditioned that being selfish is a bad thing. She said, I want to go into schools and I want to tell children, be selfish. Ignore your parents, ignore your teachers, ignore your neighbors, ignore what your friends are doing. Sit still, get quiet, really listen to your inner voice. What is your soul calling? What do you want?
Inner voice, that inner voice.
Like, your calling, whatever you deem as calling, does not have to make sense to anyone else. It's not a conference call. It's not a conference call. It's a one-line thing. It's to you. And we all copy each other, like we're all doing the same test, but we're all here to learn different things, to walk different paths. And I have always loved you and connected with you because you, like me, we cheer people on, champion others. And there's so many people that are afraid of other people's light, that somehow it will dim their own if it gets brighter. And that tall poppy syndrome, which is very prevalent in Wales, particularly with women in business, is absolutely ridiculous. Like, why you would ever waste your energy, for starters, by talking badly about other people with the need to bring other people down to make yourself feel better. that to me is a dysregulated human being with a dysregulated health and body, with a dysregulated mind. Like that's an unwell person who needs to heal.
Yeah.
But I take a wide berth away from people that are like that, because my path was not easy. I was bullied greatly. And the moment that I see anyone bullying someone else, I step away with the quickest reflex ever and the most brutally honest tongue, because I will not. I just, every interaction in life is a choice to have that energetic exchange. And why would you want that energy?
Why would you have that negative energy? Why do you want that? The only reason you're going to bring other people down, like you said, is to make yourself feel better, because you're not actually doing anything. And what I think I was saying this quite recently, the amount of armchair warriors there are out there is online absolutely ridiculous. They're in the armchairs and they're sitting back. They're actually just saying, pointing the finger and saying, what are they doing? Why did they do that? Why didn't they do it this way? But hang on, they're out there doing it.
But they're not living. Like, people talk about purpose and they talk about calling, but neither matter without execution. No. Like, I never wanted to be someone that talked about other people or talked about things they wanted to do or the person they wanted to be. I wanted to walk the walk. I wanted to get out there and do it and say to other people, I'm freaking scared. I'm really, really scared. And, I don't have this, this, and this, and this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just going to do it anyway. And if I can do it, then maybe through my walking, you might think, do you know what? If she can do it,
I can do it as well. Yeah.
Like, that's what life is about. Like, and I think that when you change the people you've got around you, and suddenly the people you've got around you are, have run like 9-10 marathons, or have, gone and won awards, or have gone back and done a PhD and, have done their doctorate and, have traveled to all these different countries and have done aid work and have given back to others and have done bigger things than you thought were possible. The more I grow and the more I travel, the more my limits disappear. Because limits are things that we create, and they're often created by the people that we have around
us. Yeah, it's the voices. They're all, and the voices then get inside of our heads.
Well, of course they do.
It's around us. Once they get in, even when you're not surrounded by those people, you are still hearing them.
Yeah. Well, look at the experiment with plants. If we speak meanly to plants every single day and tell them they cannot grow, they wilt away. It's been scientifically proven, right? So the same for human beings. Like, you've got to be really, really careful what you consume. And that's not just food and drink, which I'm all about. I'm a firm believer in that. It's what you take on board, like what you actually listen to and take on board, and other people's beliefs. We can carry the beliefs of ancestors, and without breaking the ancestral cycles, we can take things on board that are really, really toxic and really, really unhealthy in the name of love, in the name of family, and in the name of community. And I think that sometimes a change in location can be the biggest golden cord cutting ever, and it can help other people as well to release what was not right.
It's like it's a kickstart into the fact that there is a bigger world than you had around you, isn't it? So you realize that actually this is how it looks. This is how life can be. It's not about, this constant everyday mundane thing that I've been doing. There is a life outside of that. So, I want to ask you, Sian, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? Because you've touched on it and you've said, you can remember saying to your dad, what the things that you didn't want to do. But, from an early age, I can tell that probably from an early age, you knew you were different. But what was your childhood like?
So, I had a wonderful childhood. I say to my mum all the time, you were the best mum. You were just the best mum. I think it's really important that we tell our parents that. Because also our parents, I mean, I do think my mum was just amazing and is amazing. Like, oh my God, even to this day, I don't know how I get by without her. And if there was one thing missing from Toronto, it would be my mum. But I was very fortunate with my mum and dad. And obviously parents do the best they can with what they've got at the time. You know? And we didn't grow up with a lot, and we didn't grow up with a little either, but there was a real respect for money. And I grew up in a household where my dad had the reputation of being a great Welsh rallying driver. So he had a very rebellious, wild edge, which clearly I love and I take after. And my mum was more conservative, I guess, in some respects, and like quieter and stricter. She was quite strict, you know. And I grew up in a wonderful household where I didn't see eye to eye with my mum growing up, but I've always said I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you.
That's a lot of mum and daughters though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I definitely didn't think differently. I'm pretty sure I'm not neurotypical. My brain worked at an exasperated speed, and that was a lot for people, I think. And yeah, and I kind of tapped into inner wisdom that I guess I felt I had all the answers at a very young age, and I am still ever learning and ever a work in progress, which I know now. But yeah, we had a wonderful childhood where other people were having lovely holidays abroad. We were going down to the caravan in Tresight, which was a beautiful grounding for me. I loved hearing like the rain on the caravan roof and playing cards with my dad and a hot cup of cocoa and the simple things. Like, we've always connected on this, haven't we?
I love the simple things, yeah.
Our ability to just take such joy in the simple pleasures.
Yeah. I get excited about the simplest things. People are looking at me going, what? Why are you so excited?
But if you've got that, no one could ever take it away from you. And I remember I was really, really young. Quick story. I was really, really young. No quick stories here. No. And I was like, oh, Dad, I want a pony, you know. And my dad was like, right. And my dad had a car garage in Cardiff, which when we were growing up always seemed like, you know, your dad was amazing if he owned a car garage. Like these days, you might not think that so much. But in the 80s, you did think it was quite a big deal. So I was like, Dad, I want a pony. And my dad turned around to me and said, kids, if you want, well, my nickname's Queen, so he'd call me Queen a lot, because he said from a very young age, I had very high standards and high expectations. Might surprise you. And he said you wanted the world on a plate. And I genuinely believed from a young age that you could do that. I used to say to my mum, Terry, she's the one to watch. You watch what she goes on to do. And when you instill that in a child, you make them feel blooming invincible, don't you? What a fabulous gift for a dad to give a daughter. And he said to me, right, kids, well, if you want a pony, you need to get out there and you need to earn the money to buy yourself a pony. Because if you don't understand the value of money, Sian, you won't understand the value of anything. So what he didn't expect was that this little girl would go and get 5-6 jobs and save every penny she had to get that pony. And then bless my dad, because we would have to get up at like 4 a.m. to go up the stables. He used to say, right, you're not moaning and groaning in the morning, you need to get straight up. So I remember in the winter, which I'd only just remembered because of going through our first Canadian winter here, that like I used to go to sleep in like 3-4 layers of clothes, right? Because then when he got me up, I could just pull the duvet off.
You were ready.
Like I was born ready, right? And he'd be like, are you ready? And I'd be like, Dad, I was born ready. And he'd be like, okay, strange kid. And we'd go up the stables and I'd do that. And then I think I had like, I used to do a lot of like sport and stuff, I think because I had so much energy. I think my mum just put me on every course and in every sports team you can possibly imagine. So like,
I feel like you were a bit of a sponge, Sian, that you just took it all in, didn't you? You wanted to try everything and anything so that you could just have that experience. Yeah.
And that is what life is about for me. It is the experience, and it is the growth. Like we'll talk about like this move and kind of how this came along, but like, you know, everything was on a bit of a knife edge, and I was like, right, what's really important? Like, what's really important now in our lives, you know? And you know, I know Gary Vee talks about we're all going to live to 110, and we're all going to do this, and we're all going to do that, and you know, but if we start thinking about, I think in decades, right? So I think like you define your decades. So if we've probably got our strongest decade now we're in, right? We've just started. And I think, right, what do I want out of that decade? Well, I want to grow, I want experience, and I want adventure.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I got to lean into fear, because adventure does not come. Adventure and growth never come in comfort zones. We know it.
Well, no, because there's nothing different happening. So it just makes sense. If you think about it logically, if there's nothing different happening in your life, how are you going to have adventure? How are you going to have new experiences? How are you going to feel excited about life and feel like you've grown and you've developed and you've connected with new people? It makes sense that it just doesn't happen unless you get it.
It's like music. It's like an orchestra. You can all like do like you can all play the same note, right? Which a lot of people do, and then they fit in, right? Because you're all doing the same thing every day. You all fit in. Everyone fits in. It's lovely. But like, what about the highs and lows? Like the heartbeat of life, the crescendo. Like that's living. Like
that's what makes you feel
life. That's what makes you feel alive. And like. Life responds to deserve, not need. You got to work for stuff. You got to earn it. You got to deserve it, right? Like nobility comes from striving. Like Carl Jung said, like man needs difficulties. They are good for your health. Freud said, love and work are the cornerstones of humanness. You know, and I read a lot about psychology. I studied psychology. Like I'm toying with doing a PhD, you know, in the next 2 decades, should I be lucky enough to still be here. And I am fascinated by people. Like I always think like the light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. That's the root of namaste. That's the root of that word. And I love people's journeys. I love hearing about their struggles and their overcoming and what makes them them,
and how did they get here? That's one of my really things that I do, you know, even in my life as well. It's like, how did I actually get to this moment? You know, how did this happen? And I love retracing the steps, because Steve Jobs said something around that. He said, you know, you can only connect the dots when you look back. And I absolutely love that, because, you know, when you're going through the difficulties and the challenges and the whatever, you're like, oh, you know, I'm just going through this. But when you look back and when you actually get to, you know, that sunshine place, you look back and think, I actually got here because this happened, that happened, then I moved to that, then I went through that experience, that happened, I met so-and-so. And I love doing that. I absolutely love doing that exercise, because it's just...
It's so important that you take time to reflect and to observe patterns and to look what's on repeat, because we repeat what we don't learn and we don't grow from. And I think as well, like in trauma, which we all you.
Oh, you're back.
Oh. I just said the most amazing thing and you missed it.
And we missed it. That's a great thing with technology.
It's probably signal here. Let me see if do I have...
You seem clear enough now, so...
Am I all right?
Yeah, you were fine before. So, I mean, I don't know what happened there.
So
it's really weird.
just gonna chat like super briefly about like the bullying thing, because I think it's important for like young girls and, you know, parents that are going through. I think it's really important for parents that have got children that are being bullied at school to kind of understand like that there are blessings within it, you know. And I know that in trauma, those two things that get broken are belonging and connection. And we spend the rest of our lives trying to repair and unlearn behaviors around that.
Yeah.
And we all know that habit is the most powerful tool that we have. And breath is the most powerful medicine we have. And the deeper we breathe, the more we receive. It's the most important thing when it comes to stillness and health. And I remember, I really, really remember this. I was thinking before the podcast about like kind of what stories I kind of wanted to retell and like what people.
Because that's what I want to ask you is like, you know, some of the things that have happened to you and some of your experiences, you know, as you were sort of like throughout your life and things like that, because I know for a fact that you've tried different things because, you know, you were searching. And again, I think that's really important when you're searching, that you keep trying different things to see what fits. It's like, you know, if you're going to go and buy clothing, you don't just, you know, say, oh, I'm just going to buy that thing. You're going to try it on to see if it fits.
Do you know what? The searching, I don't even know if it was searching. I feel like it was living. Like it was like how I travel, like the adventure, going from one thing to the next. For me, that was living. And also it was trying to learn more about like who I was. And I think that the way that I approach life and the way that I approach business is like a creative experiment. Like I'm not afraid to fail because I failed a million times. I am the world's biggest failure. I am not afraid to fail because every time I have failed, it has opened the door to something better.
New. Yeah,
like failure is the only key that unlocks the door to success. You don't succeed your way to success, right? You fail your way to success because these mirages, these limits that we set ourselves, when you go up against this mental limit that you've set yourself because of who you've got around you and how you've done things to date and how things have always been, you hit a limit. And when you hit a limit, you fail, right? And it's like going to the gym and building your muscle. You'll up your weights, you'll get to a certain point, and there are no results without resistance. You'll get resistance, and you have to train and build that muscle to get stronger, to go up to the next weight band. And the same happens in life. And failure is your resistance. It is building the muscles so that you become resilient, and grit and resilience is everything. And I got bullied in school. I went to one of the biggest schools in Europe. There were over 300 kids in each year. It was very, very diverse. And it was at a time where bullying was really, really prolific in schools, particularly with girls. And I became a target. I went in, I was loud, I was chatty, I was enjoying myself. I was very thin for my age. I had my eyes were quite Chinese in terms of like the featuring, and I got bullied greatly with people saying, you know, I was giving them dirty looks. Well, I wasn't giving them dirty looks. It was just the way my eyes went. And it was any excuse really, you know. And I remember like kind of Japanese or Chinese water torture, that someone would kick the back of my chair at intervals all through my exams, just trying to get a reaction. Trying to get me to fight back, trying to get me to be thrown out, to mess up my exams. And my dad, who was a really big part of my life, and who I still love, but who passed away in 2011, my dad said 3 things to me that really became ingrained in my DNA, you know, that I wanted to keep. And they were: the strongest fighter walks away, and oh God, I battled with that one. You must save your energy because there are bigger battles to come in life.
Yeah.
He knew a lot more than I did. Don't raise your voice, raise your vocabulary and your reasoning. The best form of revenge, the Sinatra, is success.
Yeah.
He said in years to come, these girls will queue up and apologize to you, and it's up to you if you decide to forgive them, but never forget this lesson. And what that did for me was that it really took me back to the etymology of the word. So when you look at anything in life, our brains can tangle up like a messy ball of wool, right? They can be drama queens. If we don't do the work and we don't sit quietly and we don't know when our amygdala is being hijacked and we're being triggered and we don't have the right tools to self-soothe, then we will be on this loop. We will be on this loop, this merry-go-round of a bad habit. And I learned very, very quickly the best lesson I could from being bullied. And that was that self-validation, the etymology of the word, it starts with self. There's the clue. It comes from yourself, right?
Yeah.
And as a child, particularly in high school, we all look outside of ourselves for validation. And as an adult that perhaps could have been really wounded from this, we would then look out of ourselves all the time for the answers from someone else when the answers are always within.
But isn't this a thing for young people anyway? This is why they say the youth is wasted on the young, like it's wasted on the young, because of the fact that, you know, we're so insecure when we're young. Aren't we? So insecure. We're only looking for all those things around us to make sure that we're fitting in society. Young people aren't being taught to, you know, to be themselves and to listen to that inner voice. I think, you know, in a certain respect now, a lot of people are trying to be outrageously different because they just want to say, oh, I'm being unique. But is that really that true thing within yourself to say, this is something that I really resonate with?
This is my truth. It's interesting, isn't it? Like Marissa Peer, who's the founder of Rapid Transformation Therapy and is a leading psychologist in Britain, she said that from her years and years of being a therapist, the one single thing that unites every single client that has ever sat into the chair in her room, in her therapy room, and that is 3 words or 4 words, like I'm not enough. I'm not enough. It all stems back to that. And she said that if all parents could write on the mirror in the bathroom, I am enough, and let their children peer through that day in, day out, day in, day out. And in the kitchen have a sign up saying you are safe and you are loved.
Yes, absolutely. And these are this, you know, one of the exercises I do when I go into schools, especially with some of the younger ones, when I say, you know, when I say younger ones, probably between 12 and 15, some of them maybe slightly younger. And I ask them this question about what is really unique about them. You know, what's unique about you? What is your strong points? And usually it's, you know, it's about your, you know, your personality, and what's really sad is that so many of them say there isn't anything unique about them. They, you know, no, there's nothing exciting about me at all. And that makes me really sad. But what I do then is I say to them, right, have a chat with the people around you and your friends and ask them to tell you what's unique about you. And oh my God, the first time I did this exercise, I was so emotional with it because their friends started saying, yeah, but you're this and you've got a great smile and you've got lovely hair and you've got great makeup and you do that. And, oh my gosh, I was just so emotional listening to them all. And I thought, you know what? We don't see it. A lot of the times we don't see what's fantastic
that
about.
Is why it's so important the company you keep. You are who you surround yourself with. When you look at like doing a vision board at the start of every year, like I'm starting to really look into like communities, like the value of life is the value of your community. Like what communities do I want to surround myself with? Well, I want to surround myself with people that are healthy, that are fit. So I've got like a fierce, fabulous group of gym friends now who I adore them. I see the light in all of them. I'm fascinated by them. And I want like a creative community where people are really creative and, you know, really playful with their creativity and really honor and own it. So, you know, I create Fezzy as a little quirky little, like collaborative hat brand. And then like, what other communities do I want? Well, I want people that are committed to like spiritual development, to learning, to trying to help others. So that's a really important community for me. And then the travel, because I see travel as growth. I see growth as travel. Like the two are interlinked for me. It's really, really important that freedom and the autonomy, like we've talked about being your own boss and being able to chart your future and being able to take ownership of your daily habits and the habits that you stack, because that is how little by little you change your world.
Yeah. Oh, Sian, I love it. I love having conversations with you, because we just connect on so many levels that are just right.
Honest to God, like when I moved here, I was having experiences and meeting people and thinking, oh my God, I wish Paula was here for this. Or I'd be like, oh my God, I wish like Tasman was here for this. Or oh my God, like Kat would love this moment, because I really, really believe in oneness. I really, really believe that we are all brothers and sisters, and that this really unhealthy competition with ourselves and with others is really degenerative. Really degenerative. And I've been, you know, I've fallen at the wayside of that in the past. And
I was just going to ask you, you know, what is there a main time that you felt like you lost your way? Or was there a lot of times? Oh my gosh.
Many times I've lost my way. Sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose. I really believe that, you know, life is, I believe in neuroplasticity. I believe that life is very like plasticine. You've got the power to shape it and you've got the power to reshape it. But every time I have lost my way, it's because of one thing. I've lost my why.
Yeah.
You lose your why, you lose your way. Like purpose is nothing without forward motion. Like we don't learn by standing still. We learn from moving. And hitting walls and getting the diversions, like no, this way is not right for you. And I do feel very, very strongly that if something is not for you, the universe will make it so, I knew you were going to say God.
He will just not like, and this is
uncomfortable. You've got to shift, you've got to move.
But this is a place that I've come to now, is that disappointments aren't really disappointments anymore, because for me it's like that was just God moving it out the way, so that it's making it clear for me to move towards what is good for me.
Or there's a lesson I am missing. There's a lesson, like
a lesson there.
Everything is your teacher if you listen. Like that, what is the lesson? So I sit quietly and I document, and I journal, and I go through it. And I think that like we all battle with our higher and lower selves and our ego, and play is the one thing where the ego cannot exist in play. So play has become very, very important in my life, play and creativity. But, I feel very, very strongly that we are who we choose to be in life. We are who we choose to be. And that our choices are really, really important. And I never want to get to the point where I am so arrogant that I forget that I am co-creating. So when I do a vision board, I know I'm co-creating. So when I reach the point and we just come out of lockdown, and I, you know, lockdown for me was very, very, very bittersweet. I had a huge fitness transformation. I went through some very difficult things. I lost my best friend, Dilys Price OBE, at 88. And And I went into a very, very quiet place. And I had reached the point in life where I was very happy wearing long flowing clothes and having crystals and talking to my plants. And I was pretty much semi-retired by choice. Which was wonderful after stepping into celebrity agent work and having a huge amount of calls a day and becoming quite nervous and jumpy and putting my own needs to the back of the queue again and helping others, which I'm really glad I was able to do. And I was in the right place at the right time to help some amazing people. But it made me sit back and get quiet. And I was ready to hop around Europe. That was the plan. We were going to have little artisan businesses, not take anything too seriously.
Yeah.
We were going to hop around Europe and, maybe I'd actually put pen to paper and write. And maybe I'd go back and do a PhD and kind of do it in my own time.
And you were just going to enjoy your retirement.
I mean, slightly young to retire.
Yeah, but yeah.
Why not? And I saw both my parents get very ill at a very young age. So I mean, universe, God willing, but I don't know what the future holds. So I am going to make the most of every single second. Exactly. So I was ready for that. And then my husband, who I adore, comes downstairs and says, "How do you feel about Canada?" What do you mean? And he said, "Well, I applied for a job internally. Have you got an hour to put my CV together? Because I'm being considered for a job in Toronto." And I said, "Oh, well, that's a little bit different from what we were planning. I've helped set up this travel itinerary business, Hermit's Daughter.
Yeah.
2020.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
We'll be travel designers because my husband, his personality type is as rare as mine is, and I'm an INFJ and he is an I always get it wrong now, FT. So
I always get confused with those, honestly.
Myers-Briggs. So he's detail orientated and I'm big vision, very altruistic. Yeah. So I was like, right, okay. And I said, well, we just set up these businesses and I've been moving everything to do this for us. But let's talk about it. Like, what do you want to do? And he just said, I think we're too young to kind of just go into some sort of semi-retirement. I think there's more life in this year. You did London for 4 years. I want to do some city living.
Yeah.
Toronto is like a warmer, friendlier kind of New York. I know we shouldn't make that comparison. I'll get shot down for it. Because like American Canadians is a bit like English and Welsh.
Yeah.
Which I remind people of when they say, but you're from England. And I go, not quite, close. Quite. So yeah, like, and I said, you know what, you're with the right woman because I embrace change.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like you're not somebody who's going to go, oh gosh, I don't know, I don't think so.
And my vision board was different, but that's what I mean, we're co-creating. So
and the thing is, you don't know how you're going to get it. I think with vision boards, it's there, it's up in front of you and you've got that vision, but there's steps, there's a journey to get to it. So you don't know how you're going to get there.
And because of what I do for clients, because I create the master and the vision, the visionary plan, and then I break it down into breathtaking steps because I don't believe that anything is too complicated. I just believe you need someone with the clarity of vision to create the steps in between and to line you up with the right people to execute perfectly, because ideas are a dime a dozen. It all comes down to implementation and execution. The same as there's no point saying I got a purpose and calling if you are not making progress, if you are not executing. Like, who wants to sit in a bar years from now with talkers talking about the things they wish they'd done? Not me.
Yeah.
No interest in that.
Not at all. Not at all. Sian, Sian, we could talk forever, but I am going to bring us to the end. But I'm sure we're going to bring us to the end. But I'm sure you've got more to say around these subjects. But we've sort of touched on these things anyway. But I want to ask you these quick fire questions. They're supposed to be quick fire, but we may go into.
I'll try.
Right. So Do you understand what makes you truly happy?
For the first time in my life, I can honestly say, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Belonging, which I never realized, freedom, health and play, healthy communities, and the autonomy to stack my own healthy habits and chart my own future. We all know the quality of life is based on the quality of your relationships. And the key to understanding if your relationship is true is its ability to repair itself when it breaks. So I firmly believe in having healthy disagreements, because that's what builds intimacy as well as vulnerability. Like, you become family when you start falling out and falling back in, and wanting to become a better person, a better friend, a better sister, a better daughter, because of those moments. I don't believe in some false version of perfection or good vibes only.
Because we've got to challenge each other, haven't we? Whoever it is in your life, we challenge each other.
Yes. Oh my God, you just say the perfect things, Paula, because you cannot help anyone unless you challenge their thinking. And so many people, they don't want to be challenged. Their fear of being judged and being challenged is so potent that they start making up things in their own mind. They start thinking that people think things about them. Well, I'll save everyone 5 years in therapy. Anything you think someone else thinks about you that they have not said to you or shown actions around is actually how you feel about yourself. So you need to sit quiet, do some shadow work, read Dr. Nicola Pereira, read how to do the work, and do the work. Like, you know, I truly believe that success, I nearly said sex then.
Oh, that's a whole different subject. Let's talk about sex, Sean.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Like, why did I go there? But sex could also be applied, but success is not solitary. Neither is sex, but you know, hey ho. But success is not solitary. Again, you don't see a successful hermit. It's all about other people. And I feel like for a lot of my life, I've almost shunned that kind of community, and that, like, because I'm a bit of a lone wolf and I do things on my own, but through friendships and through moving and through trying to challenge myself to see other people's perspectives instead of becoming rigid and inflexible, I've been able to bend and weave and understand that communities are really, really important, but it's about building the right communities for you. And when you keep a high vibration, like you do, Paula, you're high vibration all day long, which is why you're this magnet for miracles. It's why you're so good at what you do. It's why people love you. When you have a high vibration, what is not good for you will fall at the wayside.
Exactly. Oh, I love that, Sian. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And my late great friend, who I've talked a lot about, so she's clearly on my mind, Price, OBE, left this world, and she said, before I die, the message I want to leave, and I feel it's important for me to keep telling people that, is to be tender to ourselves and tender to each other. And when things get too heavy, play. Go back to what you loved around puberty. Go back to what hobby you had around puberty if you do not know how to play. Get up in the morning, dance in the shower, dance like no one's.
I've got this thing that I, you know, that I created in terms of, like, you know, when I talk to my mentees, and we look at how, you know, if we're looking at the concept of their life and what they're including in their life, and I call it your happiness fountain. And if we all create our own happiness fountain, and the reason why I call it a fountain is because fountains just spring up and overflow and they keep going. So what I say is that you create your own happiness fountain. So in your fountain is all the things that make you happy, even if they're happy, even if it's little tiny things, you're throwing it all into this fountain. And so when you need it, you just wash yourself in your happiness fountain.
Yeah. But when your fountain is filled up, what happens? It becomes a waterfall, it overflows, which is what Dilys said. We must be selfish first. We must fill up our own vessels. Exactly. And only when we are in a place of overflow do we go out into the world and help other people.
Absolutely.
Because energy is like a relay race, is a baton. You're passing. You've got to take responsibility for the energy that you pass when you move out into this world, how you are seen and how you help other people. And that waterfall is so important. Like, I call Kat Southall, a famous singer in Wales, I call her my waterfall friend. She's a joy coach. And when I get very rigid and very serious, I can get into this very unhealthy, as we know, workaholic place where success is an ever-moving target. And I would work all the hours God sent because I, unfortunately, absolutely adore what I do and helping people. So I have to rein myself in. And Kat is great at reminding me how important it is to be silly.
Yes.
To be silly, to have fun. Like, life is too short to be serious.
All the time. I know. I love to laugh. I love to smile, as you know. You know, I've always loved having fun. Always.
Yes.
I can be a workaholic. I can be, because, again, I'm like you. I love to help people. I love, I just want to keep going and keep, doing what I do. And I do love what I do. So it's finding that right sort of blend. I call it like work-life blend. I don't like work-life balance. I like blend, because it's like finding all those things that make up your...
I like that. I like the blends. I like the different hues and the different colors. And when it comes together, it's a beautiful...
Exactly.
Like, I always say, this is a nice analogy. I'm not quite sure where I've got it from. It's probably one of my little funny stories. But I always think, right, we talk about this ever elusive work-life balance, which is different to each individual, right? Because, and I won't go off on a tangent about that, just because, right? And I think, again, this is really important about who you've got around you, because if you think you're flying a plane, right? So me and you are pilots now. I have 2 pilot hats, right? So we're flying a plane, right? And every now and again, something's going to happen, right? A massive project will come in and our plane wing will dip in the water, or a family member, heaven forbid, will become poorly. And our plane will just tilt and dip in the water. And it's about your partner, husband, friends, family around us, the flight crew, to say, you're being a bit of a douchebag there. You need to pick yourself back up. You need to put yourself to the front of the queue. And you need to level up. Like, every time we level up in life, our self-care and our well-being practice must level up accordingly. It does not stay stagnant, because change is ever present. We are always in dynamism. Everything is dynamic. So should be our self-care rituals and our well-being practices. And I always think of that plane, that flight crew. If you've got people around you that secretly don't really want to see you do well, that plane's going to crash.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're not working together at it. That leads me on to, that was the first quickfire question, Sian. I've got 3 more.
Oh, no!
And honestly, you are just going to say yes or no.
Okay.
But you've touched on a few of these already. So,
okay.
How are you at getting still to feel emotion? And I know your answer, so...
Like I've got daily disciplined practice. I journal, I meditate, I pray. I've got daily discipline on doing this, and constantly doing fluid writing and working through my shadow work. So I
love it.
Stillness is a big part of life for me now, more important than productivity.
Stillness is so important. I love nothing better.
We would say that.
What's that?
Sorry to talk over you. I never thought that we would say that.
I know.
Never. Wow.
I think it's important as creative people and people whose minds are always going with something, that we have to give ourselves time and space to be still. Because we have to, because how do you continue to be creative and be at that high level all the time if you don't have that space to downtime? You know,
that's why when we rest or we're on holiday or we're on the toilet, right? when we're not in the doing, the best ideas come to us.
Exactly.
Play and relaxation. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. Next one is, have you found your tribe?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Finally, I have found my tribe, but it took me a long time to trust and to let people really see me. But yes, I have. And I continue
to add people to your tribe.
To add people to my tribe.
And you've got different tribes.
Yeah, like, and I'm always learning, and I just want to be the best me possible.
Love it. And the last one is, do you love yourself unconditionally?
Yeah, I'm a boss.
You're a boss babe, Sian. You're a boss babe.
My nickname's Queen. Yeah, like I do. I really do love myself, and yeah, I really do, because if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. So everything's and again, self-love, like etymology, every single thing gets the root of the word, like relationships, the ability to relate to one another. Like we relate so beautifully because we see each other, we hear each other, we speak the same language, but on a soul level, we really get each other, me and you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sian, I have loved every minute of this conversation. You are absolutely my soul partner, my soul woman. Honestly,
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, I'm grateful for you too. I'm so grateful for you too. Is there any way how can people connect with you if they want to work with you?
Hit me up on Instagram at Sian Gunney, SIANGUNN, November, E for Echo, Y for Yankee, or find me on LinkedIn. I'm really approachable.
I can vouch for that. She's amazing. Anyone who is listening to this, I know that you're going to be coming away from this podcast with so many gems, so many gems. And so thank you so much for another fabulous episode, Sian. And for everyone who's listening, I will be back with you again next week with another amazing guest. But in the meantime, keep being the true you. Bye, everyone.